What's mental health?
He asks all the questions everybody wants to know.
It basically includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being.
You're driving me half out of my mind, you crazy old coat.
It affects how we think, feel, and act.
Oh my God.
Not just that, mental health helps to determine how we handle stress, and other things as humans. The Mind Clinic, a platform where people can talk about issues directly or indirectly on mental health.
All right, it's a Wednesday morning in the FCT, the 26th day in the month of August. I'm excited because it's time to discuss with Chinyaru Goldensi. She's always here only on Wednesdays. I wish she could stay longer. Good morning.
Morning, Victor. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Now, on the program today, we'd like to look at the role of the family in raising emotionally healthy children. We have a very special guest who is an advocate for positive parenting. She provides parents with practical tools and information to raise well-balanced children and adolescents. She's a psychologist and a certified family life practitioner. I hear she's the founder of Parenting Support System Limited, an organization that helps parents create a serene family life without losing their cool. Exactly. She's also a certified parenting educator with the USAID Better Parenting Nigeria curriculum program. She has passion for teaching and coaching parents to be deliberate in their role and parenting journey. She's married. And guess what? She has 3 children. Our guest on the show this morning is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. Good morning.
Good morning, Victor. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Chini. Thank you for having me too.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah. So we've read quite a very nice, biography of our guest speaker, and we know she's capable and able. So we're going to get right into it. So we're talking about emotionally healthy children, and we want to know, let's get to the basics. What is emotional health? And, what does it mean for a child?
Okay, basically, emotional health is you being in a state where you're aware of your emotions, where you can actually process your emotions, and where you act in appropriate ways. So, for example, we're listening to the story we listened to this morning about somebody acting up. That person was not in an emotionally stable state at that point in time. So being emotionally healthy means that over a period of time, you are able to identify your emotions, you are aware of yourself as a human being, you are able to manage your emotions, and you're able to control and act in an appropriate manner. So that's basically what emotional well-being is all about.
A lot of the times when we talk about that, sometimes we focus a bit more on the adults. So for a child, what does it mean when we talk about emotional health? What would it mean for a child?
Okay. So our children, they tend to have, for the younger ones, they tend to have forms of tantrums. They are not able to manage their emotions due to the fact that their brain is still developing, and they themselves, they're actually still developing. So it's the role of a parent to guide their children into becoming more emotionally intelligent. And how do you do this? You teach them certain steps. You give them certain strategies to be able to identify their emotions, to be able to manage their emotions, and to be able to express themselves appropriately. So for children, it's a learning process. I know the good thing about starting early with your child or with your children. By the time they grow older, they've mastered the act of managing their emotion. Not suppressing, but managing their emotions.
And I think it's, what you said now was key, because when you were talking and I'm thinking in my head, what if the parents actually don't know how to manage their own emotions?
So
the child would now go to a circle of not learning to also manage their emotion, and then they become an adult that doesn't manage their emotion, and then
it becomes a pattern, and it becomes a circle.
Exactly.
And that's what we're having in our country. Over time, we see, you can just go on the street, you see people acting in, I won't call it unhealthy, inappropriate ways. Maybe it's at the traffic, in traffic, you see somebody acting in a way that you're wondering, why are you acting like this? Or you go to the market, see somebody shouting and screaming, and you're wondering, why is this person acting like this? It's because we don't have that culture of managing our emotions appropriately. We just feel that, we need to flare, I have to express myself anyhow. I have to let the person know that you can't control me. And in the process, we end up breeding other people, end up breeding the next generation in the same manner. So it's very important as parents that you need to be able to manage your emotions, because for you to manage your emotions, you'll be able to raise children that are able to manage their emotions too. And like you say, you can't give what you don't have.
Exactly.
So once you're able to manage your emotion as a parent, you'll be able to teach your children and influence them to manage their emotions appropriately.
Yeah. I mean, we've touched on a bit of the family's role, the role of the family in raising emotionally healthy children. It boils down to the parents, and the key message is that we need to be able to teach the children to manage and not suppress. However, even as parents, we need to understand how to manage our emotions because the children are learning from us. Are there key pointers as what the role of the parents are, what exactly they can do in helping raise emotionally healthy children? Okay, so the first thing first, the parents should be able to manage their own emotion because you are the first role model, you are the first teacher to that child. So the first thing is, as a parent, you need to be in that state where you can manage your emotion. It's very important. The next thing you need to do is now be deliberate. When I was reading my Bible, I said I train parents to be deliberate. You have to be deliberate in what you're doing. Just don't take your role just like that after this was how my parents raised me. No, we want to raise the next generation to be better. So you have to be deliberate. So what are the things you can do to help your child or your children to become emotionally stable, emotionally intelligent? You have to teach them to be aware of themselves. Let them identify per time. How are you feeling? So it's more of being mindful. Teach them more of mindfulness. How are you feeling? What are you feeling at this point in time? When last time I saw you, your face, you were frowning. Why were you frowning? What was going through your mind? We have to teach them to process their emotion per time. Now we have to teach them to use the right words. We give them the emotion vocabulary. And one of the exercises I do with parents is you give your children different smileys, different faces, and explain the faces to them. Can you see this face? This person is smiling. Why would you think this person is smiling? This person is smiling because he's either happy or something nice has happened to the person. This person's face is frowning. You use the actual words. Why is this person frowning? Oh, maybe this person's upset, person's angry, or something not nice has happened to him or her at that point in time. So it's very important that we teach our children their vocabularies. Get a list of emotion vocabulary and teach them. Another way parents can teach their children about vocabulary is when you're reading to them. We have these storybooks where there are more of pictures in them. And just short lines, but the picture is already explaining everything going on in the story. So it's very important that parents can use those kind of books to teach their children about emotions and about vocabulary. Now that you've started teaching your child about emotions, the vocabulary, you're going to teach your child to identify triggers. What are the things that get you irritated? What are the things that get you angry? So for example, in my home now, my daughter, what gets her angry is when people don't do things her way. And I've tried to explain to her that, see, you're going into the larger society. People would not do things your way. So you have to face reality. But what can you now do when people don't do things your way? How can you now regulate yourself? So apart from teaching them to identify their triggers, you also need to teach them how to regulate themselves. And that's where you tell them you need to take a pause when you find yourself in a situation where you're getting either irritated. I know the good thing about our emotions, before the emotion gets to that tipping point of no return, your body would give you signs and signals. We call them your body cues. So at every point in time, you have to be aware of yourself, how you're feeling. You have to be aware of your body cues. So for example, some people are getting angry, they're about to get angry, their hands start shaking. You have some people that their voice starts shaking. Those are body cues. Those are cues. Your body is telling you, oh girl, oh boy, you're about to get into the tipping point. Take a grip of yourself. So you teach your children to be able to identify these body cues. So when they start experiencing those cues, they know they have to start regulating. And the first step in regulating yourself is just take a pause. Remember that video that went viral about the boy that was saying, "Mommy, calm down." At that point in time, the mother should have taken a pause, So just take a pause. That is the first step in regulating yourself. So you teach your children to take a pause. And what do you do when you're taking the pause?
you could count 1 to 20. So you teach them, anytime you get this body cues, start counting 1 to 20. Count slowly. If counting 1 to 20 is not working, take yourself out of that place. So maybe you're at school with your friends and your friends are being mean, and the way they are talking to you, you're getting angry, and if care is not taken, you might end up lashing out at the person. Take yourself out of that scene. It's very important. So these are the steps you need to teach them. So teach them to pause, teach them to count 1 to 20, teach them to take themselves out of the scene, the triggering scene. Then you can also teach them to change the narrative. And like I tell my children that, see, you don't know where the person is coming from. You don't know what has happened to the person before meeting the person. So always try to empathize with the person. Try to give the person like a second chance. Oh, maybe the person doesn't really understand how I feel when he does this or when she does this to me. You understand? So it's very important that we teach them this. Let them put themselves in the other person's shoes too. That's being empathetic and looking at it. Okay, maybe this person is coming from a place where maybe somebody has upset him and the person is trying to transfer the aggression to me. And okay, I don't want to take that. So let me just be nice to the person. Let me move away so I don't get myself irritated and all that too. Then another thing you can do is you can also teach them to change I'm trying to look for a word now. So instead of getting angry, they should start thinking of positive things that happened to them in the past.
All right, thank you for this tip. That was quite important and very interesting. I mean, it points out against the fact that we need to be intentional about training our children.
Yes,
and
we need to.
Deliver, and there has to be an element of consistency.
Oh yes.
It has to be a habit, and we need to take in those steps, because when you were also speaking, I said, part of exploring our mental health and seeing how, part of our mental health is our emotional health, because if we are unable to manage our emotions and if we are unable to regulate our body and ourselves, we might end up lashing out and developing or finding it difficult to even manage the stresses of life, which will always be there. So it's very important that we also learn to manage our emotions. Let's go down to, I know we've talked about some of the things that we can do, and we've understood that it's quite important that we teach the children to manage their emotions. Are there other importance to a child being able to manage their emotions?
Okay. So apart from the steps I've given, it's very important that even the parents, everything still boils back or boils down to from the home. Everything, we're all products of everyone in society. We're all products of a home. Yeah. We are all out from a home. And because of that, the parents in the home, you need to learn how to manage your emotions, because that's the way you can help your children to manage their emotions. Another thing I tell parents is that times that your children might be going through some emotional instability, not because they're angry, but due to some physiological due to some physiological changes in their body. So it's either they're tired, they're hungry, or they just need to sleep, or they need your attention. So at every point in time, when you have a child that is acting up, I tell parents that first of all, look at the physiological needs of that child. Have you met the physiological need of the child? Is the child hungry? Have you given the child food? If it's no, then please give the child food. The child will definitely act better. Is the child tired? Then encourage the child to go to bed, to go and sleep. Maybe take a nap during the afternoon. Is it that your child needs you emotionally, needs your attention? Then whatever you're doing at that point in time, you should either drop and attend to your child's emotional need. Now, another thing parents need to know is that you have to train your children to become aware of these physiological needs themselves. So when they're feeling hungry, they know that it is hunger and not anger. You understand? When they're feeling tired, they know that, okay, mommy, I'm tired. I think I need to rest. We need to teach them to be aware of themselves. And children that are aware of themselves, they end up becoming adults that are also equally emotionally aware. Yeah. And by the time you find yourself in a larger society, you're able to act appropriately because you've taken care of all those needs, your physiological needs, your emotional needs, and you can respond to the person in the right way. Yeah.
Is there any specific age to start? At what particular age, or should we just always start from a very young age to train our children?
Well, I tell parents that, see, once your child can start talking, because that's when we've heard cases of terrible twos when they're always throwing tantrums. Once your child can start talking, start teaching them how to manage themselves. And we do a lot of talking with our children. Funny enough, we ask them, how are you feeling? But now let us be more deliberate. You're asking how are you because you want to know how your child, most times when you ask questions like, how are you? We don't even wait for the response. The person just says fine. But now when you're asking, how are you? You're asking, tell me, how are you really feeling at this point in time? I don't want the normal fine. And I tell parents that you can also use the opportunity, ask open-ended questions. Don't ask questions where you get the yes or the no. Ask questions where the child will need to explain certain things to you. Because once you can get those informations once you can get that information in detail, you're able to assess your child and know your child's emotional state at that point in time.
And what are the signs or what characteristics can you see in a child and say, wow, this child is not emotionally healthy? Or also, like, for parents, how do you know that you're guiding your child on the right path? Are there like specific pointers?
Okay, so let me give an example. I used to teach in children's church while I was in Lagos. So there was this particular boy I used to teach 6 to 9 then. So there's this particular boy, and I had another student like that while I was teaching in Abuja here. Whenever things are happening around, the guy is just calm. Not that he's calm, that he's timid. The child is not timid, very vocal child, but the child was always in a state of calmness. Let me use that word. He was aware of himself. The child knows who he is. He has accepted himself for who he is. And I went further to ask the child that I noticed that when your other friends are jumping and when somebody does something that ordinarily you should get upset, you're just calm. Why? And the child told me that, my dad taught me while growing up that we have to learn to manage our emotions. And I was like, wow, I was really intrigued with that. So as parents, for you to identify or for you to know if your child is getting the learnings or the teachings, your child becomes aware of himself or herself, the emotion per time. So when your child is upset, your child can actually say, Mommy, I'm not feeling good right now. I'm upset. I think I need to rest, or I need to, the child is aware of himself, aware of his emotions. The child has accepted himself or herself, knows, I know myself, I know this is who I am. The child is able to manage his emotions. So, Mommy, I'm upset, and because I'm upset, I just think I need to take a walk. So you know that child is emotionally intelligent or emotionally healthy. The child is acting in appropriate ways. So, children will still be children, but you will see these signs in the child. Okay, this child is not the one that is always just impulsive, just jumping up and down, screaming up and down and all that. But even as parents, I still take it back to the parents that you need to show your children these examples for your child, because they're looking up to you. You are the role model, you are the teacher. So everything they're doing is a pointer to what you're doing.
And I think I also want to encourage parents out there to create an environment where the children can actually
tell them, oh yes.
Because I'm thinking some parents will be like, if a child comes and says, oh Mom, I'm upset, or Dad, I'm upset, they might just hush you and tell you to get away from here. What do you know about that? So it's also about creating an environment where they feel comfortable that they can express themselves, and you will listen to them, and that makes it easier. And if you're a parent out there and you feel like your child is not getting the emotional awareness and not necessarily emotionally healthy and acting out, it's never too late to actually start. It's about being intentional, being consistent, being deliberate, like you said earlier, to ensure that we have children who are able to regulate themselves a lot better and to manage their emotions a lot better.
All right, we need to take a break now. When we come back, we have more questions for our guest here in the studio. Glad to have you back here. My name is Victor Pepple. I've got Chinyerugu Udensi, clinical psychologist at Neem Foundation. This is the Mind Clinic, proudly brought to you by Neem Foundation. Now, we'll give you a number to call at the end of the show. But right now, we are discussing the role of family in raising emotionally healthy children. Our guest in the studio is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi, a psychologist, a certified family life practitioner, and founder Parenting Support System Limited.
Great. So we've talked about emotional health, the role of the family, importance of having emotionally healthy children, and characteristics of an emotionally healthy child. What advice can we give parents, caregivers, in providing emotional support? I know we've talked about this, here and there, but let's bring it together. What advice can you give them on how they can go about being there to support their children and train or develop emotionally healthy children?
Okay, so at my organization, Parenting Support System, one of the things we advocate, or our major goal, is that we provide parents with practical tools and information to raise well-balanced children, or to raise their children into well-balanced adults. And one of the things I tell parents that I coach or that we do trainings for is that you are, in the life of your child, you are to provide emotional support for them. When your child knows that you are there, that you've got his back, you've got her back, your child would always want to speak with you. Your child would always want to come back to you whenever they go through one form of trouble or the other. So it's very important as parents that you have an open channel of communication with your children. Let your child know that, let him know that mommy is there for me, daddy is there for me. Anytime anything happens in my life, I can always call them and talk to them. Apart from you having an open channel of communication, also when they're going through difficulties, how do you handle such experiences or such scenarios? So for example, your child has failed in school in a subject and your child comes home. Can your child even come home to you to tell you that mommy, I flunked this subject, But once you have that conducive home environment where the child can always come to you, you'll be able to influence the child better. You'll be able to advise the child better. You'll be able to support the child. So for example, the example I gave, the child has flunked an exam. The child should be able to come home. And what do you do in that kind of scenario? Do you throw the child to the woods? Do you insult the child? Do you beat the child? What do you do? That determines your level of emotional support. Then another thing parents can do, apart from having an open channel of communication, giving your children support during difficult times, is when your child help them to identify their strengths. Help them to identify their weaknesses. Once you know you're good at something, success breeds success. So you're good at something, it gives you that confidence to try out other things. So let's help our children to identify their strengths. Let's help them to identify their weaknesses, what they're not good at, and let's work more on their strengths. Let's promote their strengths. What they're not good at, that is not important, let them drop it. And if it's something that is important, help them to work on it so that they become the old child. Our philosophy at Parenting Support System is your child, you are to raise children who are well balanced. And what do I mean by well balanced? The child is emotionally stable, the child is mentally stable, the child is physically fit, the child is spiritually stable too. So those are the things parents can do. Ensure that you have an open channel of communication. Ensure that you provide emotional support to your child when they're going through difficult times. Help your children to identify their strengths and weaknesses, and also develop them. It's one thing for you to identify the strengths or weakness and you just allow it, but help them to develop those strengths. Create environment for them to thrive. Once your child knows that anything I want to do, my parents are there to support me, it helps the child to grow into emotionally healthy children.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so we have a message here. No name. It's okay to keep your message anonymous. If you want, please send us messages real quickly. You can add your name if you choose. Or just go ahead with the message. It says, what if it was the parent or aunt who made the child angry? Because sometimes the child might shout back or try to hold back their hands when they want to beat them.
Hold the hands of the parent?
I'm guessing you say so. What if the parent or the caregiver makes the child angry, and so the parent is trying to beat the child or something, and the child is...
I'm sure that person is a teenager.
Yes, maybe that's why I didn't say the name or her name.
I'm sure the person is a teenager.
What if your parent, or what if the parent or aunt made the child angry? Because sometimes the child might shout back or try to hold back their hands when they want to beat them.
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, that for you to know that a child is emotionally healthy, the child is being able to voice his emotion. But another thing about being emotionally healthy or emotionally intelligent is that you're upset, you're happy or whatever. You always have to look at the circumstance surrounding your emotion. At that point in time, if I voice out my emotion, what will happen? Do I have that capacity to control myself? So there are times that you're very angry, and you know that the moment you open your mouth, you're going to start cursing. You're going to start. At that point, so you're not able to manage your emotion. So what do you do in that circumstance? That was when I gave the tips. You have to learn to pause, take deep breath, walk away. Once you've calmed down, once you're on that level of, your level of sanity is normal, then you cannot go back and talk to the person in a respectful way. That shows that you're emotionally intelligent, and you go and say, Mommy, when you did this, it really hurt me. And when you're talking to your parents, you won't be talking to them accusing them. You have to be assertive. So you'll be telling them how you felt. So you say, Mommy, when we had that little argument, or when that thing happened the other time, I felt so bad. I felt like going into the ground. And you just tell them how you were feeling at that point in time. But most times, what we do, we tend to accuse the other person. You made me angry. You made me to do this. It is you. And nobody likes being accused. Even children too, they don't like being accused. So make it more, that's why I say you have to be more assertive when you're talking to the person. But remember that when you're talking to the person, you are in the right frame of mind. You are not angry again, you're not upset. Because the person will even appreciate you better. That, this was how you felt, I'm so sorry. The person might end up apologizing. If it's your parent that are emotionally healthy, they would apologize to you.
Yeah.
All right, then we need to go now because of our time. Final words for parents who are listening.
Okay. So parents out there, you need to be in a state of emotional stability for you to raise children that are emotionally stable. There are courses out there, there are trainings out there you can go for where you can actually learn to manage your emotions. You have no yelling challenges, you have anger management courses out there. If you have an issue with your emotion as a parent, please reach out to experts. They will help you to becoming a better parent. Thank you.
All right, let's get the email and phone number. Chinyerugo.
Great. Awesome. You keep saying email. We have gone past the email age.
Okay.
Oh, really? Instagram page.
Okay, so just give us everything, because I know that there are some parents who perhaps are not on social media and might want to do it
like to send an email.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the number to contact us at Neem Foundation for the sanctuary is 0706 062 5054. I'm going to repeat the number again. 0706 062 5054. And remember that this number is only for psychological support, and that's all we offer. The email address to reach us on is sanctuary@neemfoundation.org.ng. And we're on social media at Neem Sanctuary. So that's NEEMSANCTUARY. So that's how you can contact us.